Boom. What's up, everyone? How you doing? Welcome to Simulation. I'm your host, Alan Sakian. Really excited to be talking about the life of running a YouTube channel. What up? What up, everyone? Thank you for tuning in. I really appreciate it. It means a lot to us. And it's actually a tremendous amount of fun to be able to run a YouTube channel. Like, it's probably one of the coolest things to be able to do it. And it's also a huge responsibility because one has to be able to properly disseminate really high quality knowledge and information to other people. So it can't just be sources of disinformation. That is horrible, and we absolutely do not want any more of that on our planet. We're actually way overloaded with that already. There's too much disinformation. Only the highest quality knowledge now. Peep. That's it. Done. Highest quality knowledge. So that's what I take on as a responsibility, is to only give the highest quality knowledge possible. So all right, we host a show. It's called Simulation. A little bit of background on what we do on YouTube. We host a show called Simulation. We do long-form, nuance-driven, multidisciplinary discourse with different great leaders of our time. And that means everything from AI and robotics to biotech to neurotech to blockchain and cryptocurrency to geopolitics to emotional intelligence and spirituality. We are all over the place, and we love that. It builds a very strong mental lattice for moving forward. So I'm going to break down the nuance of what it's like to host this interview show, to do live events as well, to manage the finances of everything, to manage the social media of everything, to actually be able to retain a first principles perspective on all of this. It's ridiculously difficult, and I have some notes that I'm going to share with you as we go through. That way you guys actually have a better sort of visual representation of what I'm discussing as well. I'm really excited to be able to look over all of this with you guys and walk through this, because I think it's extremely needed in our world, especially for Gen Z kids, because Gen Z kids are coming in with their own YouTube channels right now, and we need them to have a high amount of not only information that they carry, that they really want to have strong forms of advancing civilization maximally, but also that they have a place to go and learn about what it actually is like running a YouTube channel. All right, let's jump you guys into our mixed effects so you can see what I have here. One of the first things that I want to talk about is this first principles idea. So it means that everything that we are building here is built based on advancing civilization forward. That's our first principle, and we want to do it with as much cohesion and love and care for each other as possible, and that's what we're building from first and foremost. And you'll see that throughout everything that we do. We carry that first principles mentality with us. It was interesting, after I delivered the TEDx San Francisco talk, I had several people approaching me and wanting to talk to me, and I just retained an extremely humble and an open and loving personality, which I just do all the time as much as possible. And it was great that I had some comments afterward that, like, whoa, like, it's so great that Alan can retain such humility at this time. And I want to try and help other people really retain that humility, that we know nothing. And so it's really important to retain that first principles understanding of who you are, what your mission is here, and to be vigilant with your time, which we'll get to in a minute. So some of the things that we care about building are this polymathic education platform. And that means that we want to have a lot of different multidisciplinary content, and we want to be able to have anyone accessing that content at any time and learning, especially young people. And we want to go forth and do crazy things like fill sports stadiums. We want to fill sports stadiums. We want to fill arenas. And I mean thousands of curious intellectuals for full day multidisciplinary events. And these includes things like debates. This includes things like comedy skits. This includes all different types of group meditations. So really trying to be something that has never been done before. And, you know, we have a picture in our studio of the Coliseum because that's a big inspiration for us on the filling stadiums and arena side of things. Also, these creative warehouses actualizing the potential of youth into our world. So we want to make it really easy for young people to be able to have whatever resources they need in order to really be able to find out what they creatively care about more than anything else. So, and build that into the world. So that's another one of them. And then got to have your 5-second elevator pitch nailed down. So I have now over in time developed out the elevator pitch. I think it's really important for everyone that's running a YouTube channel or business in general to be able to do. A lot of this is actually life of running a YouTube channel, but also life of running a business kind of at the same time. But you'll see what the differentiators are with YouTube channel. Being a free thinker, having little affiliations. So not affiliating yourself with binary thinking, loving the nuance, asking powerful questions, and parsing society for maximal knowledge and people networks, because you're being vigilant with your time. So you want to know, where can I find the highest signal in the world of noise? And how can I find the strongest, smartest people to surround myself with as I strive to achieve my goals? So, all right, for an interview show, or for a good amount of YouTube shows nowadays, there are guests. So that means you have to reach out to people via email or DM on whatever platform. And it means that you have to coordinate with them and their schedule on when it best works to feature them on your show. And so that actually ends up being a significant amount of work, because there's a lot of back and forthing. There's a lot of parsing and trying to figure out who the best possible guests are for your show. So then we just landed in Egypt, baby. What up? These backgrounds have been so lit. I'm so happy that we have a green screen. This is one of the things that I really highly recommend for YouTubers, is to be able to pull forth a green screen so you can throw up really awesome, thought-provoking imagery in the background. We love ancient civilizations and learning from them. So all of these different images that you've seen have been very important to us in one way or another, in having a more strong mental lattice of reality. So booking really thought-provoking guests. Also, doing show research. Obviously, when you book that thought-provoking guest, you have to do research on the guest. So that way, when they come in here, you can say things like, oh yeah, your book. You know, you actually know they wrote a book. You know, even better, you've at least skimmed their book. You at least have watched a video on their book, a short one, whatever you need to do, or even better, read their book. But, you know, get as much knowledge about who they are in as possible. There's also another side to that coin, which is it's nice being fresh when you talk to someone, in terms of not knowing certain things about them. That way, when they say something like that, they may have, you know, had a significant injury in their life that ended up helping them become who they are at a really high level, that your shocked perspective will be real then, instead of being like, that story, yes, it just blew my mind when you taught me that. So there's a difference there as well. All right, and then it's a 2-hour show. It's an hour-long show, but then there's the 30 minutes of the person coming in and settling, and us getting them what they need as they settle, and then also writing down on the whiteboard the outline of the points that we want to hit. And so these are live shows, so there's no editing there. But then you have to go onto YouTube later, and Facebook, and these platforms that have video, and we stream to 2 content delivery networks from a TriCaster, which I'll get to in a moment. That means we have to go update the bio and update the thumbnail and the tags and the playlists and everything across 2 of them. And so that means making the thumbnails in platforms like Sketch or in Photoshop, and getting really good at making thumbnails. And then updating the tags, updating playlists, and keeping these really good. You have to have strong tags. You have to have strong playlists. And then this becomes a lot of work, actually managing the community on YouTube, managing the community on Facebook is just a tremendous amount of work to actually be able to go back and like people's comments and ask them, you know, how can I become better, or thanks for this comment, or ask them a question in return about how to become better, or what they wanted to address that was a thought-provoking thing, you know, hit them back with another interesting thought. And you have to do that across platforms, so it's just a lot of work. And then it's also a tremendous amount of work having to manage your postings across these social accounts, because that means your Twitter, your Facebook, your Instagram, your LinkedIn, your Snapchat, all these profiles. And here, just look at how crazy this is. You know, here's our, you know, you can see here's our YouTube. You know, we got 532 vids up now. And, you know, here's our interviews. Here's our long form interviews here. Here's that AMA we just did, right? And so it's kind of crazy because, you know, when you end up looking at all this content, this is a lot of videos that have to be managed, have to have thumbnails made and tags made and bios made and comments replied to and whatnot. And so, you know, here's the never-ending list of, you know, of comments as well that we have to reply to. Here's Facebook. So on Facebook, you have to do the similar video manager here that you have to deal with. And so you have to, again, similarly go on Facebook. Here's our, you know, Facebook page. So we have to manage our entire Facebook page and constantly post and engage here, which takes a lot of work. And then, oh, Luke Robert Mason, what's up? Shout out to you. What is the simulation elevator pitch? I gave it at the beginning. You can check it out. And then also there's the Instagram account. There's the Twitter account. And I'm taking you through all of these. There's the LinkedIn account. There's, you know, this is interesting because a lot of people don't know that we also do live events. And so, you know, here I'm going to show you our cognition crisis live event that's coming up on this Friday, featuring Dr. Adam Gazzelli, one of the leading neuroscientists. And so, you know, so here you have to, you know, when you click view, you'll see, you know, here's a live event. So you have to go and update the bio of the live event. You have to go and update the banner, and you have to manage those ticket sales and have volunteers at the event and have a good guest experience, which I'll get to in more detail in a moment. And you have to, you know, you have to play in the attention economy. So you have to build relationships with people. You have to build with people so that they see that you care about them and that you want them along your journey and that you're providing them with a high amount of value, which is what keeps them. You have to capture these stories during the day. You have to keep your website up to date. And stories, meaning you have to document your day. And, you know, Gary Vee says some interesting stuff. He says to document, not create, which is really interesting that he says that. So as in, it's easier to do something like document this right now, this life of running a YouTube channel video, rather than it didn't take me that long to do pre-production for this, and now I'm just going live with my notes, versus if I was to try and storyboard out multiple days of me running around the city, showing you all of this stuff. It just takes a long time to do all that. So it's different to document, to just take that front-facing camera and document yourself on your story on Instagram or Snapchat, Facebook, whatever, the stories. So, all right, bouncing back to the list, managing finances. This is obviously a very interesting thing that we're really not taught that much when we're young, is actually knowing how to handle paying your rent, paying for things like business class internet, covering things like your insurance, buying food and staying frugal, building up your Patreon account, and managing your Patreon account so it stays up to date and you keep posting there and you manage with the patrons. So that's a lot of work. Upgrading your equipment, so you move from like we were saying earlier in the AMA, that we have this light here that's not sustainable. It's an old school light, so we need to get an LED light, one of those light rings. So that's one of the upgrades that we need to get for the studio. And like other things, like obviously we mentioned in the AMA as well, but we're struggling with the YouTube monetization because we've had over 1,000 subs almost since we basically started the channel at the beginning of the year, but it's been so difficult applying 4 times now for monetization over and over and over again with YouTube, and getting declined because out of the 535 videos that we have on our channel, apparently like 5 of them or so have had a video embedded in them, and it hasn't been original content, but over 99.9% of our content is original content. Over 99% of our content is original content. So, and I don't know about Facebook partner monetization. I'm not sure about that. I need to look into that more. I know there are some people that actually do that. I already gave the bit on building live events, but obviously this takes a tremendous amount of work to manage your ticket sales, do the banner design, the bio, all that stuff. You have to manage a mailing list through a company like MailChimp. And you have to try to not send too many emails to your following, only really profound and important emails. You have to host the event and have a really strong experience design for not only the guests that you're hosting, as in like Adam Gazzelli, who's going to be our guest on Friday. So they have to have a good experience. Plus, all of the actual guests that are attending the event have to have, for the experience of listening to the Fireside Chat, have to have a very profound experience as well. So then that takes a full day, and you have to build out a team of volunteers or people that you can actually pay even better with the finances that you have, because it's really important to build together a community of people like that and have them, show them the love through being able to support them financially while they support you for helping your efforts. So live events are also extremely complicated and very, very fun to do, and it's important to do big live events. We've been obviously trying to scale up our live events to only doing a couple really large live events, like we were talking about sports stadiums, every single year. So you have to edit video that's not live streamed, which actually takes a tremendous amount of work to be able to do. So that means sitting behind a computer and a software like Adobe Premiere and learning how to go through the process of doing things like these audio video functionalities. So doing things like color correcting, or doing things like cutting out certain segments that weren't that good, or doing things like adding lower thirds, adding effects so that you can add imagery inside of it. You have to sometimes adjust audio levels when one mic goes up or down. It's so much work to be in Premiere and to learn how to do that. And I only know 0.001% of Premiere. I don't know how to do animations. I don't know how to do any of that stuff yet. And so again, there's really good editors out there that's been working on it for a long time. So that's another aspect to this. You have to know how to cut short segments from long form convos. So this is really important because our show really desperately needs to have our 60-minute interviews cut into 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute segments, and those cycled as well throughout the internet. And we are behind on doing that because we are still behind on getting the interviews that we recorded and didn't live stream cut, because I'm the only person that does that. And it's a tremendous amount of work. And so we need to, as you up your financing as a YouTuber, you can then hire other people to help you with editing, hire other people to help you with actually making what you're trying to build come true at larger scales. So we also have here making 30 to 60 second short profound videos. So this means not the long form interview content and not those interview segments cut up into short clips, but also actually making the 30 to 60 second videos that are more so like, you'll see them on our channel. If you go and look at Welcome to Simulation on our channel, or Fuck the Rat Race, one of those two videos, you'll see kind of how those are like fast chop videos, and they're like diverse, and they have voiceovers the top, and so it's just a difference, more like film. It's very interesting, and that, that's a whole day process. That's a 10 a.m. for your roadmap and your storyboard, and then noon to 6 p.m. is the shoot, and then 6 p.m. to midnight's edit and publish. So again, and then you have to actually publish. They have to go change the tags and the bios and thumbnails and all that stuff I was telling you about. You do that the next day as you push it out to Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all the social networks. So it's crazy, right? How much actual time it takes to do all this stuff. And this is good because you know how when you go, this is actually really important. Really focus on this point. So you know how when you go to a restaurant and you eat, that all you do is sit at a table and then someone else, you order food and someone else brings you food? One moment, please. And then all you see is that the food has arrived at the table, you eat, you pay, and you leave, right? But what happened is a very complex system in the background. Someone had to decide to make that place a restaurant. So there had to be a building built there at some point by humans. There had to have been someone that decided that they're going to make a restaurant. They're going to name it. They're going to hire people. They're going to make a menu. They're going to do that. Then they had people there. That means they have chefs and waiters and waitresses and hosts and people working in all these different parts of the restaurant. And then they serve you that food. So it's interesting because I usually see this, but someone that has worked at a restaurant before will empathize more with a restaurant's processes. And so you might do something just super simple, like after you're done eating, you might stack your own dishes and then just pass the dishes to the busser when the busser arrives. So very simple things like that can actually be very interesting. So that's why I'm bringing this up, because if you're actually watching this right now, you may not know all of the nuance behind what it takes to actually make one of these videos. And so I'm trying to explain to you what actually goes on in order for you to better understand what the nuance of all the variables that go into actually executing this and building it out across all of it. And the bio of this video has a really good breakdown of the list of 10 things that are really important to maintain while you do here. Okay, and other things that are really important. So you're learning how to do live streams on the TriCaster. That means, as you see here, you see this is what a TriCaster looks like, and you see that right, there's just so much nuance of what's actually happening on the screen and what I have to do in order to manage it all. And so that's what we're using. We're using a TriCaster, and then we are zooming out for the next shot, bringing it back. There it is, so that you can see from this angle again what's up. And boom. And then so again, this is you have to learn how to live stream on a TriCaster. That takes a lot of work. You have to learn the TriCaster software itself. That takes a lot of work. The TriCaster software is a bunch of different things you can do. You have to learn how to use cameras. That means you have to learn how to actually use a camera, focus it, iris, work on the iris, put it on a tripod, know how to manage an SDI connection in the back and have that cable run to the TriCaster, and HDMI connection run there. Right now I'm using an NDI input, which is what's enabling me to show you what's on my screen. It's a wireless input into the TriCaster. And then you know how to add assets, video and images and audio, which you kind of saw a little bit of, is adding this stuff. This screen right here that I'm about to show you is we're adding, that's us adding content to it, that simulation logo and etc. So you switch between cameras fluidly is extremely important. Having a fun personality, but also a strong mental lattice, and doing AMAs, being quirky. You guys know that I love being quirky. I like being different, right? But I also love having a strong and developed mental lattice that's multidisciplinary, so you can actually relate with me on all different fronts, and I can relate with you on all those different fronts. So doing AMAs has been really fun. I learned so much from you guys. I already mentioned document, don't create. This part's super important. Saying no to parties, beer gardens, Netflix, alcohol, cannabis, drugs. Inquiries for people that are convenient for them, but they're not convenient for you. So you have to remember that people are always trying to ask you to do things that are convenient for them. Oops, convenient. There we go. For them, but interestingly enough, that is not actually most convenient for you, because you need to hustle and you need to focus and you need to build on what you're creatively here to produce into the world. And so not every inquiry for your time is actually worth your time. Remember that. And it's also, there's so many people that are focused on too much Netflix and chill and too many conversations with people and too much alcohol, too much cannabis, too many of these escapist things, but they're not all escapist, right? You can use cannabis medicinally and whatnot for serious problems, and you can use drugs like 5-MeO DMT or ayahuasca or psilocybin or LSD and stuff, and you can have really profound consciousness expanding experiences, but not doing it super damn often, so where you can't actually creatively execute. But it's different for every single person. It's different for every person. But I'm saying you got to eat shit. You have to eat shit for 10 years. You have to build the future. The best way to build the future is to eat shit for 10 years and just hustle from when you're 20 until when you're 30 and creatively execute everything you want into the world and set yourself up while other people just are doing all of these things that they think are important for their time now. They'll notice that they still have to work their ass off later in their life. Meanwhile, you will love working your ass off later in your life, but you're going to be doing what you love because you're doing it as your own creative output. Doing things like this is very interesting. An eccentric sleep schedule, low interest in sex because it takes too much time, a low interest in long-term relationships, again, it's too much time, a low interest in coffee meetings / hangouts because they're not usually that important for you to do, to just go meet with people. You have to apply the Pareto principle to people networks and know who's the most important for you to meet. And so you need to focus on creating content instead. Having a deep interest in meditation, nature bathing, and self-work. These are very important things along the way because I'm talking about eating shit and only hustling and doing that. But you have to also go to Muir Woods, go to the beach, go out and nature bathe for long periods of time and practice working on yourself through meditation and inward thinking. And just to round it all off on the way out, you got to read a lot. You have to do a lot of knowledge synthesis and you have to take a lot of notes. You have to build a strong mental lattice to be one of the world's most polymathic tennis players. And that's, not for every single person is like that, but this is how I feel. And I think this is how, when you develop a business or a YouTube channel, you got to do these things because people want to be able to relate with you on a bunch of different fronts. They don't want to just relate with you on just one front usually. And so if you know how to talk about space, like the International Space Station orbits the Earth every 90 minutes, right? And if you can know that, and if you can know that there are there's zero gravity in it, there are about 6 astronauts in it at a time. If you can know that this is the Niagara Falls and there's these gorgeous places in the world that have these majestic areas that Earth has beautifully blossomed on it, the Amazon rainforest and the diversity of the plants and animals there. If some people like this type of stuff, they like the multidisciplinary, this is what the world looks like when it's all lit up at night and from space. And so you can tell that there's certain patches like that right there is that right there is the Amazon, and that's why there's not light there, right? Because there's a big rainforest there. People don't live there. Not that many do. Versus the continental United States, you can see there's obviously a lot of people living there, especially on the East Coast and whatnot, and even towards Midwest. So anyway, knowing how to synthesize knowledge like ancient civilizations and big history and being able to apply that into your daily life is really important because there's a lot of wisdom from the past that we can apply moving forward to make us much smarter. And I take notes on everything. I highly recommend you take notes on everything too. Not everything, that's binary, on a lot of the most important things, applying the Pareto principle, finding the most profound things and taking notes to organize them and keep them logged over time. So again, building out a strong mental lattice, being from first principles. So let's go do a quick overview. Building from first principles, knowing your elevator pitch, applying things like the Pareto principle to life, knowing how to find the best people networks and knowledge networks, understanding how to play on social media and play in the attention economy, but not being sucked too deep into it. Not letting it control you, knowing how to manage your finances and manage other people that help you build what you build, doing things like scaling yourself up to the next lily pads of execution. So for us, that's the bigger sports stadiums, bigger sets. As YouTubers especially, know how to live stream, know how to edit video, know the nuance of that, know how to make short videos, know how to make long videos, and hustle, grind. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Don't be distracted. Actually build. Focus on actually building to your absolute best. And that's it, everyone. Much love. I want to just have a big shout out to all of the people that are currently building the future on YouTube, on Facebook, on these different social platforms, because it takes a long time to build out a big following on these different social platforms. And it's a big part of the attention economy. It's a big part of disseminating your value structures and your mental models of the world. And so I want to have a big shout out to all of them, and a big shout out to all you guys for tuning in. Huge thank you for tuning in. This has been the life of running a YouTube channel, and it's also, a lot of this is the life of running a business, and a lot of this is also the life of running a successful, creatively driven and civilizational maximization life. Like, how can you build value into the world, and go and do that every single day of your life? I love you all. Huge thank you for tuning in. Much love. I will see you all soon, and definitely go and give us your comments and your thoughts below. I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to hear from you. And go and build the future, manifest your destiny into the world, everyone. Much love. I'll see you soon. Peace.